All right, so we're going to get started. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for being here again for our weekly group sitting together. I love the dedication, really. Just to get up and to show up. I know it's easy, just, look on your phone or on a computer. But it's also easy to sleep in. It's also easy to find something else to do that's more important. Um, so, it's really courageous, I think, that you're willing to show up and work on your spiritual practice. It's great. So it's helpful for me as the person sharing because it inspires me to show up and to do the work that I have to do. And hopefully, excuse me, I'm inspiring you guys to do the same. I tend to always lose my voice as soon as we start. I could talk all week. It must be this room. Anyway, so I wanted to start with this poem I heard. I don't know who it's by because when I was listening to the podcast, I couldn't understand the lady really. And I even typed in the exact poem on Google and nothing showed up. So it must be like a non-well-known book or something, but I know it's a Buddhist nun. And it goes like this. You always considered yourself lucky because things seemed to work out the way you wanted. But now, luck has a different meaning. Lucky to be walking a path that finds peace in the arising and passing away of each present moment, regardless of how things work out or don't. So I'm going to read it one more time. You always considered yourself lucky because things seemed to work out the way you wanted. But now, luck has a different meaning. Lucky to be walking a path that finds peace in the arising and passing away of each present moment, regardless of how things work out or don't. And I think this poem, I think it touched me so deeply because, this is it. I feel like this is what we're really trying to do, right? This is the path of mindfulness, the path of an awakened being, right? We, think about how we used to live, right? That's the first part of it. We hope things turn out our way, right? It's a very narrow view. I hope life is this way. I want this person to act like this. I want this person to act like that. I want to look like this. I want to feel like that. It shouldn't be this way. It should be this way. It's like we just keep erecting these walls and putting them up and closing ourselves in. And then when life doesn't fit in that tiny little, armored box that we've created or that little bubble, then we think something's wrong, right? Then we blame the world for not fitting itself into our mold, how we think it's supposed to be, and I think that's like the first line. You consider yourself lucky because things seem to work out the way you wanted. That's what it's pointing at. You're living a life that is avoiding discomfort at all costs, right? And holding on to pleasure and pleasant experiences at all costs as well. And we're living in this constant push-pull. And because the nature of all things is impermanence, you can't run away from unpleasant things forever. You can't hold on to pleasant, comfortable experiences forever. So we kind of find ourselves, suffering unnecessarily or more than we have to. So now, and then it moves on, luck has a different meaning. So now, we start to hear these teachings. We learn that there's this different way. And then, I know I do, and hopefully you guys as well, consider yourself to be very lucky to have a path that goes beyond this kind of evolutionary pushing and pulling, right? It might have made sense years ago, right? Think about our ancestors out in the woods. If you ate a plant and it made you crap your brains out and you felt horrible and dehydrated and almost died, well, you're going to make sure you never touch that plant again or anything that even looks like that plant, right? The people that didn't care and said, yeah, I ate that yesterday and I was, going in the hole or wherever they went back like crazy, and they just eat it again, like those are the people that died, right? It's the people that, had an unpleasant experience and said, ugh, I don't want to have this ever again. I want to avoid this. It's a matter of survival. They survived. And it's the same with, pleasurable. Like if they ate berries and they felt good and they didn't get sick and they were, felt nourished and energized, well, they're going to try to find more of those or figure out a way to get more or make more, right? So from an evolutionary standpoint, this way we live makes perfect sense. But at the same time, at this point, we have food at food stores, and we know for the most part we can Google about plants and all these different things. But it doesn't, this evolutionary way doesn't necessarily match up with how things are, right? So it's time to kind of move forward in our evolution and find a different way, right? And if we follow this old way, life becomes a roller coaster, right? When things go our way, we're feeling great, we're happy. And then when they're not going our way, we're down and depressed and we think something's wrong. And it's just like, ooh, right? So meditation and mindfulness offers us kind of a stability or an evenness. And I love this last line. Lucky to be walking a path that finds peace in the arising and passing away of each present moment, regardless of how things work out or don't. In the name of the talk that I think I heard this on was called "Come What May," and I like that. I feel like that's the mind of equanimity. Come what may, right? I wake up and I'm feeling anxious and sad and down today. Come what may. All right, I can work with this, the arising and passing away of this present moment. Yes, it might be a sad present moment, might be a hard present moment. We might have a lot going on in our lives in this present moment, but like all things, that will arise. It might hang out for a while, but it'll eventually pass away. And to find peace, right? Regardless of whether we're being blamed or whether we're, suffering or whether we're in pain, whether we're sick, whether somebody just passed, to have a path that shows us how to have peace in those moments, regardless of how things work out. I mean, look, we all don't want to die, and we're all going to die. So regardless of how many things we get right in life, eventually it's not going to work out the way we want it, because that's not how it goes. Right? And no matter how much we exercise or eat healthy, we're not going to stay 20 years old. We're not, things are going to change. It's fine. This is just the way it goes. So how do we do this, right? And this is where meditation comes in. And this is where the formal daily meditation is so important, because we're literally sitting there, willing to be there no matter what. And I know I say this every week, but we need to hear that every week, because we always fall back into the trap. I mean, I give, workshops where I'll say, all right, whatever happens, I give this whole talk. Like, it's not about having a certain experience. It's how you relate to all experience. You don't have to feel good. Your mind doesn't have to be quiet. And then at the end, I'll like to have a sharing time, and someone will say, I think I finally got it. Like, I was in the zone. I felt like I got it and I felt good. And then, and then you'll have someone else who's like, my mind wandered all over the place and I can't do anything right. And it's like, you didn't even hear anything that I just said. Like if you were awake and you knew what was happening, then you did it. You did just fine. Right. And it's over time kind of resting in what T.S. Eliot probably would have called the still point of the turning world, right? I love that. That we can rest in this still point, which is awareness, right? That is the still point, the one who knows. When you sit there and close your eyes and there's a thought, the one who knows that there's a thought, the one who's aware, that's the still point, right? That's the spacious, awakened awareness that is receiving life in this moment. So to be able to rest in that, regardless of, what's going on, whether your knee hurts, whether you have a baby screaming in the background, whether your mind is just all over the place, whether you feel happy or sad, this is it, and it's like, the arising and passing away of each present moment. It's being with your life as it is, and being willing to be there, and willing to be open to it no matter what. It doesn't mean you have to like it. It doesn't mean it has to be what you want, because a lot of times it's not, right? But that we have this practice, and we have awareness, which is our natural gift of life. We don't have to do anything to attain it or get it. We just need to remember and rest in it. And then we can hold ourselves where we are. We can hold life. We can hold the difficulties of this country, of this world. We can hold it all in this spacious, loving awareness. And such a nice thing to have. And lucky to be walking a path. So lucky. Because what's the alternative? Living unconsciously, and, just every thought, every feeling, every mood, just acting on that or speaking from that. There's no freedom, right? And to just be a slave to this ego, a slave to our habitual patterns. It's got to be a difficult way to live. I mean, look, I haven't mastered it, so it is different. I mean, I'm still getting lost in them. But I at least know that there's a possibility, and I can hold myself where I am in my path. It's not perfect. I haven't mastered it. I don't know if I ever will, but I'm okay where I am, and there is peace regardless of if I'm perfect or not, regardless of if things are going my way or not. And I've realized that I have the ability to be at peace no matter what. When my friend died, I found peace. When I was at a job I didn't like, I found peace with it. When I'm around difficult people that I struggle with, I make peace with it. And that doesn't mean I don't do anything. That doesn't mean I don't engage, but I come from a place of contentment. I come from a place of clarity. Not always, right? But a lot of the time, I can come from this place of clear seeing, and I can see what's being triggered in this other person, what that's triggering in me. And sometimes I have the freedom to try something different, right? Not be so predictable. I believe there's a teaching in the Lojong teachings. There are 59 slogans. I'm actually doing a course on that in October. But one of them, I believe, is don't be so predictable. And I love that, right? Don't, if we get so caught in that, well, I'm just this way. This is just how I am. And to an extent, that's true. Like this practice doesn't magically make us some other person. We still have basically the same personality and stuff, but we have a little more freedom with how to navigate through it, how to work with it. It's kind of like being dropped in the jungle. At first, you don't know what's going on. You don't know, what you can eat. What you can't eat. You don't know what animals are around. You don't know how to tell what weather's coming. But imagine 5 years into the jungle, 10 years, 30 years. The jungle hasn't changed. It's still the jungle. But 30 years in, you'll know the slightest breeze will mean that there's rain coming. You'll know, what sounds or what animals, what you can eat, what you can't eat, So it's kind of like that with our minds. We sit with ourselves and we pay attention every day. Then we get to know, we get to know the wild animals of our mind. We get to know the weather of our mind. We get to know our triggers. We get to know where we often get stuck. And we start slowly loosening all that up. And that's what's great about meditation is you sit there and these things arise. The normal habitual energy arises, but you don't give it any ground to hold on to. So what happens is things come together, and normally you put a nice little ground under there so it could become something. But in meditation, you just rest in that still point. You rest in that openness, and it arises. And since it's got no foundation, it just falls apart. And sometimes if you're taking this practice seriously, um, you'll get to a point where you might start to feel really anxious or afraid. Um, and this is normal because everything that you've identified yourself as your whole life, the things that have kept you safe, um, or protected you from certain feelings or situations, starts to crumble, starts to fall apart. And that can be very scary. Once it falls apart and you see that it's not so bad, it's fine. But there's a long process. I remember for a long time, I thought, I thought that I was going crazy. And I actually read a book that said, you're not going crazy, you're waking up. And that was a pretty comforting book. From what I remember. But I remember just saying, well, like, when am I going to not feel this anymore? This is terrible. Like, it just felt like everything was falling apart and I didn't know who I was. And I was searching for meaning and this and that. And I had all these ideas, and all those ideas were falling apart and not coming, out the way that I wanted. And eventually I realized to kind of just hold myself in this life with all its ambiguity, with all its mystery, with all its joy and terror and fear and all of it, that I can just hold it as it is, and that I can just meet things moment by moment. It's a very simple way to live, but you don't think that just living directly for the moment is going to do much, right? But it does start to manifest this inherent peace and joy. And it's important to understand that peace and joy doesn't mean feel good all the time. Doesn't mean things work out the way you want them. It means that you are open and willing to receive what life offers moment to moment. And it doesn't matter what the flavor is, right? And there was this bracelet I used to make that I would give out on retreats, and it said, what does it say? Whatever happens, I don't mind. And it doesn't say whatever happens, I don't care. It's very different. And whatever happens, I don't mind. And that's the mind of equanimity. I would suggest not wearing that bracelet, though, because I feel like as soon as you put it on, the universe is like, oh, yeah? I swear it's like a curse. You put it on, and then shit goes crazy. You can try it if you want. But but that's the intention, to wake up and say, all right, whatever this day brings, I have the tools to deal with it, right? We have the evolutionary tools to adapt to changes, and they're there. Our ancestors have used it, and they've passed it down to us. We have this incredible ability to adapt to the changes of life, whether they're pleasant or not. But we prevent ourselves because we want to hold on. We want things to be the way they were. We want them to be a different way. But when we let all that go, we can finally relax. We can just relax into it and say, all right, now this. It's very radical, and it goes against the grain of our mind's evolution and makeup. But it's well worth the practice. So, a lot of screaming kids today. A lot. I don't know if you can hear that or not, but I can hear it. So, yeah, I think that's good enough for today. We'll do some sitting, and then we can kind of talk about this topic offline, off of live, with our Zoom chat. So, find a comfortable seated position. We'll sit together for about 20 minutes. And again, if you have a method, feel free to use it. If you don't have a method, remember you're just counting your breath. Every exhale, you count 1, you breathe in, you breathe out 2. And anytime you have a thought, you just label it thinking and you come back. So as soon as the bell stops, just pick up that counting. It's a very simple method. Every exhale, you count. Let go of thoughts, start over. Let go of, you might, every time you get to 1 or 2, you might have a thought, just let it go and start over. It's not about getting to 10. You don't get a trophy or a sticker, a high five. Maybe I'll give you a high five, but you're not getting anything else. So So get comfortable, listen to as much of the bell as you can actually hear, and then we'll get started. All right, here we go. So we can listen to the sound of the bell. All together, take a nice deep breath, breathing in through the nose and out the mouth. And then slowly starting to move, stretching, opening the eyes. So I thought I unmuted the mic and I did the bell and I was talking through the breathing and slowly moving. And then I looked and neither of you guys were moving. So apparently I didn't hit unmute, but I think you can hear me now. Right? Yes. Can you hear me now? Hello?
I can hear you.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to end the live. So if anyone was joining us live, thank you. We'd love to have you on Zoom for our community kind of connection time and discussion time. Feel free to reach out to me to get that info. So let me get that done.